Franco's got the stories that never go stale. With the champs, the underdogs, the dreamers too. He's walking and talking just for you. Walking with Franco, stories unfold. Wrestling hearts in a ring of gold. Walking with Franco, legends alive. Every step's a suplex in time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of Talking with Franco. I've explained why we're now talking with Franco instead of walking with Franco, but hopefully we will be back walking very soon. And today, I've said this many times before, we have had a star for you on the show, but today we have an absolute superstar. We have royalty. We have the Ruthless King, Tucker. Tucker, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule today, and welcome to Talking with Franco. It's great to have you on. First and foremost, not that you really need it, but please introduce yourself to the listeners and tell them exactly who Tucker is.
Hello guys, pleasure to be on, man. Sorry it took me so long. You have to bear with me today, my voice is half gone. So I'm Tucker. I've been wrestling for 16 years now, all over Ireland and Europe and beyond. But very blessed, very sore, but very happy to be doing it.
So I just want to crack on with a few questions here, Tucker. So what is your first memory of wrestling and how did you get into it?
First memory was my brother actually telling me about DX, I think. And then he was showing me all this stuff, like what these guys are doing, and they're telling everyone to suck it, and this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, this is crazy, like, this is amazing. And the first person I ever seen was Kane. So then Kane was my first ever favourite wrestler, believe it or not. And then I was afraid to change it from Kane because I was afraid of him.
And so why and how did you start training?
I was down to my big brother again, so he worked in Smith's toy stores at the time, down near Forsyth there. And some kid came in, and it was the night actually Orton and Benoit wrestled for the title. Was it SummerSlam?
SummerSlam?
Because we were down at the Caravan, and he came off shift, and he was like, oh, some kid was in today saying he's doing wrestling training. I was like, what do you mean wrestling training? He goes, well, he was getting like a wrestling figure or something. And I said, oh, my brother loves wrestling and stuff, and he told him that he was training the Craig Road. I was like, what? That's insane. So I was like, right, I need to find out more about this and look into it. And then a guy at the time, Big Chris, or Jonty as he went at the time, he's long gone now, but from wrestling, he's still alive. But yeah, so I sort of said to him, and he was like, well, I'm game for going down with you if you want. And that was it.
So what have you any memories of your first experiences of that first training session?
Yeah, one that really stands out because I was pretty young at the time, so I wasn't able to drive or nothing. And my mum dropped us over, and back then it would have been Ulster Championship Wrestling, UCW, so it was like way back in the day. And you had guys like Bobby Lee Harm and Stevie Shaker, the Baby Maker, and Duncan Disorderly, and all these guys. But Bobby Lee was like a big dude, bald head, beard. And I just remember being like a wee 8-stone kid getting dragged in by my mom. She was like, oh, 2 boys here for the wrestling. And I was like, oh God, I'm finished already. Like, I'm done for her. But, oh man, it was crazy.
But you can always rely on mums to embarrass you. Jack will tell you dads are pretty embarrassing too, but that's a different story. So who were your first trainers then?
The first people to train me was, I think it was Dunk and Bonesaw at the time, running the one in the Craigie. But it was just like a rake and mats, so there was no ring or anything. So obviously when you're just bumping on the floor, and you're like, oh, this isn't really as fun as I thought it was going to be. So it was a bit of a rude awakening to throwing yourself about your man's bedroom or whatever. So yeah, look, it was great, but it was also like, oh dear, I need to toughen up a bit here.
And what was the hardest thing for you to learn?
I think the hardest thing was probably the psychology side, because at the start I was happy enough. Like when you're young and stuff, obviously you just don't really have a thought of hurting yourself. Or so I remember the first bump I took, I smacked my head. I was like, oh man, this is awful.
Yeah.
And then around them, like, so you need to be sure that your chin's tucked in and this, that, and the other. And then after like the second week, I was like, bumping sucks, but it's okay. Like I can deal with it. But it was just kind of why you were doing stuff and why it made sense or how was the crowd going to engage or why. I think this was like way, way later in my career. I wrestled Big Demo. And I was
My
having a
very
chat.
good friend, Big Demo.
He's the man. Yeah, Demo's the man. One of the best people you'll ever meet. And he was chatting to me, but he was chatting to me indirectly. And he said to somebody, you need to think about all these guys that you liked or loved. And he was like, they're probably doing stuff that you can do. In fact, there's probably guys out there that you can do more quote unquote stuff than. So it doesn't really matter about flips, it's what's going on like emotionally. So just
Yeah.
the old classic, like it's not, we're not selling motion, we're selling emotion and all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, that's so true, because obviously I didn't tell Keane, but Steve Austin was probably really my favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
He's just punching and kicking, but he's doing it with such intensity or such kind of believability that you're sucked in, and you're not thinking, oh, this is a drama or this is that. You're like, oh my god, it's Steve Austin. He's kicking the life out of the Rock here. This is insane. You know.
100%. So, whenever you started out, what were your hopes, dreams, and aspirations, or did you have any expectations?
To be honest, just to wrestle on a show was huge. So it took us a year to get on to our first show, and they just kept saying, because the very start when I turned up the training, I think I was like, 8.5 stone or something.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures online of this wee
Yeah,
skinny dude.
pipsqueak.
That's Tucker. No, that's not Tucker.
Yeah. So then they just kept saying, like, you know, you guys are getting better, your footwork's good, you are getting good in the ring, you can do all this stuff, but like you're too small or you need to go to the gym. So the second like I started wrestling training, I was like, right, I need to start training at the gym, I need to join up the gym, learn how to lift weights and everything else. Which made sense to me because obviously everybody that you grew up watching, like the Hogans and the Rocks and the Austins, they're all big boys, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big turning point for me. Then I actually became a fitness instructor by trade because I just thought, well, if I know how all this works, that's going to help me out with wrestling. And then wrestling was pretty much all I really cared about. Everything else was just to pay the bills. But
I know exactly. We've talked before about life getting in the way of
wrestling.
That's
very much so.
So, where did the Tucker name come from?
So again, this is a funny one. The original gimmick was they were going to use us in a rumble. It was in the Welly Park Hotel, and like we're going to bring you out as two like chavs from the markets. So we come out with the Burberry caps and the Cox Sportif tops, and the bottles of cider, White Lightning cider. So we were John D and Tucker from the markets basically.
Yep.
So they sent us out, and randomly the first show that we done in that rumble, two guys got hurt in their matches. One of them being DJ actually took a crazy. Remember the head cheese thing? Like Steve Blackman would do the backbreaker and
Yes.
Al Snow would drop the leg or something like that.
Yes.
Or maybe it was the other way around, but the guy landed right on DJ's diaphragm and you could actually see a physical dent in it. And I just remember him coming backstage and being like, oh, it was like the triangle cell, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy, like this is not good. And my mom was down at the show. I was like, oh god, she was already stressed out.
Yeah.
So then the next match, then another guy, Beefy or the infamous Scott Fury again, breaks his thumb. So he comes backstage and his thumb is on the other side of his wrist somewhere. I'm like, oh man, this is not going well. Like, so he comes back, and then there's some other mad commotion with two other guys. I can't really remember, but I remember a big fuss backstage. I was like, this show is just going, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. So they come up to us and say, right, lads, we're going to put you out in the rumble, but you're actually going to go out 3 different times because now 2 guys were injured. Like, right, okay. And nobody knows how this is going to go. So they send us out as a tag team, as one entrant, if that
Yep.
makes sense. And the place goes insane because we're just kids, you know, and
Yeah.
everyone else on this show is a big man or looks like a man. So like they lose their minds and we're over as rover, as they say. And it's like, oh my god, this is amazing, best feeling ever. And we get out and we're like, right, we're gonna go back in again. Second time they go even more mad, and the third time, like, place we're going nuts. And then after it, my mum was like, really good, but I'll not be back. Like,
Yeah.
just all the stuff that happened. And back then there was a lot of hardcore matches and thumbtacks and barbed wire and blading and all that stuff. So yeah, but it was class. Like I still remember that really vividly. Like so.
Is
That
that
was
the only
great.
time your mum's come to watch you?
No, she did come and see me quite a few times after that, and then I done my ACL. I can't remember. It was about 8 years ago now, so a while ago. And I think after I had that done, I ended up staying in Mum's house for like 8 weeks. So I was living in her kitchen essentially.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, you know, you had a brilliant time wrestling and you got to do all this cool stuff and you wrestled all these guys. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
She was like, well, you know, that'll be you. And I was like, no way, you know, I'm still 20, whatever I was. And she was like, you're mad in the head. But that was the thing that was keeping me going to do the rehab and
Yes.
get back to it.
Yep.
I'd be like, but mom, the best thing in wrestling is like when the guys come back, you know?
Yeah.
And she would just shake her head and be like, oh my lord, this kid's lost it.
It's like my mum came to watch me and Jacko with my dad one time, and she was furious at me because Jacko took so much hate. She was like, "How could you just stand there and watch your son get?" And I was like, "That's part of the show.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, don't believe you done that. That poor child took a beat, and you just stood there and watched it."
Amazing.
And then obviously I've hurt my ankle there recently, and Mrs. Franco had said to me, "Oh, so that she finished with wrestling then?" I'm like, no, it's not. Well, get back. It'll get better. You're way too old for this.
No.
I'm not. So you are not only an established Titanic wrestling wrestler, you're also one of the main trainers. How did that all come about?
Now you're really going back. So I think when I was about 20, 21 or 22, I'm so bad with dates and stuff, but I did the AWR tour, which back then was huge. So you did like all over Ireland, and they had Carlito, Chris Masters, and all these guys, which was like a massive deal back then. And then from that, I ended up just getting to wrestle all these guys who had so much experience, and then learned so much. You know yourself,
Yep.
just from being in the ring with certain people, you're like, God, I would never have thought about this or that, and then that kind of led on to like the Pro Wrestling Ulster stuff. So it was like wrestling Drew Galloway when he'd just been released, and then wrestling Matt Sydal and Al Snow, all these guys, and Paul London as well. But just how much you pick up from those guys, and then I think they, the likes of JDP and stuff, are like, mate, you've been in there with everybody now, you've picked up all this stuff, you're wrestling all over Europe, you're pretty much doing a show or two shows or three shows most weekends, whether it's in UK or Ireland or Germany or France or whatever. And then obviously getting the opportunity to go and do all the WWE stuff and doing the tryouts and then doing the NXT UK and the NXT UK TV stuff. So then I knew how the schools ran and how WWE liked things to be done and what way they wanted things to be presented and how TV wrestling was done. So I was like, well, obviously I now know this, so I'm going to tell these guys this. And that's kind of how everybody learns, you know.
Yeah. And what do you enjoy most about being a trainer?
I think for me, just guys getting it, like weeks and weeks of them not getting it, and then just something happens and they go, "Oh, right, okay."
Yeah.
And you can just see the penny drop them, or you can see the wee smile on someone's face when they finally maybe get a leapfrog, or they hit a hip toss, or they do their first flip bump, or whatever it is, or they even just, and you've probably seen it yourself when you're watching someone training, and all of a sudden they're not just going through the motions. Like I watched Jack now, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
From day one, he was quiet as a mouse, and I get in there and I was like, oh my god, is this the same kid? Like,
Yeah.
it can't be.
Oh, he's so annoying.
And I've said to you before, like his punches are absolutely glorious, like money. And he's so animated now, which is
Yeah.
class because when I started out, I was very like Jack. I was like afraid to speak and very quiet, and that was a lot of the time that I would have got the same sort of feedback of technically things are sound, but you're really quiet,
Yeah.
or you're not showing animation, or you're not showing emotion. That does take a long time, and even with Myla and stuff too. She probably won't like me saying this, but when she went to training, her rolls were brilliant. Her footwork was incredible because she was a dancer beforehand.
Yeah.
But she was like, I'm not. She hated selling at the time, and she wouldn't sell, and she wouldn't make a noise. And there's another guy who was helping coach at the time, and he called her out on it, and she just was so angry about it. She hated it. But now, if you actually watch her work, her best quality is probably her selling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, her selling's fantastic. And now she kind of laughs at herself, and she's like, I was so loud, but now I understand how important that is.
Yeah. No, makes an awful lot of sense. So, can you tell us something funny that has happened in one of your training sessions?
I'm trying not to get myself cancelled here. There has been like quite a lot of funny moments. I remember way back a guy doing like just a forward roll, and it was the craziest thing ever. So everybody's just doing the rolls as normal, and I swear to God, it was like a car crash. The noise of it. So his head just to do a forward roll. I don't know how he possibly done it, but he just boom, and the whole room just goes, oh. And he just lies there, and I'm like, you okay? And he goes, oh yeah, all good. I think I hit my head. And I was like, yeah, you definitely hit your head. So that was quite a funny one. And then I remember, not too long ago actually, Flan Brand Bradley, as I call him, was doing a wee test on the ropes.
Yes.
And you know yourself how like athletic that kid is. He's a freak.
Yep. I was in the room.
He's a lovely lad, and he was just hit the ropes. And he hit the ropes again. The whole rope snaps, and he just somehow backflips out of the ring onto his feet. And I think just before he hit the first rope, and I said, "How's the ropes?" So as he hits the second rope, it snaps, backflips, lands on his feet, has the rope in his hand, and he turns and deadpan just goes, "Not great to be honest."
Oh, now I know that you give many seminars all across Europe, but what has been your favourite seminar that you've attended?
Oh, attended. Woof. I always would say, for the wrestling side of it, I remember doing a lot of the Finn Balor seminars when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it really made me understand like movement and intensity and how to move around the ring and how to sell and all this stuff. But then I did a Scotty 2 Hottie seminar. I think they were both for Fight Factory. I could be wrong. It was a long time ago. And he kind of opened my eyes to the entertainment side of it. And it was like, oh my God, if you just piece this stuff together,
Yeah.
it just makes so much sense. And you think how much he gets out of just teasing the worm, where, you know, and then he did like a really, I couldn't tell you the ins and outs of it, but it was a really simple way and the hot tag.
Yeah.
And then we did it like as a drill, and I was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. And it was so simple. It was a case of ensuring that the thing that happens before the hot tag isn't bigger than the hot tag itself.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, that's so true.
Have you ever seen anything funny happening in a seminar?
Yeah, plenty of wild seminar stories. I remember, I'll not name any names, but I can't remember the kid's name actually, to be honest. But we're learning just tackle, drop down, hip toss or something, and this kid's like, "Are we going to be doing bigger moves today?" And the guy's like, "Oh, what moves are you gonna learn? Like, you still need to learn how to hit the ropes." And he's like, "Oh well, my finish is gonna be a tombstone off the top rope." And you just think, "Oh man, like come on." That's pretty good.
So, why should any inspiring wrestlers attend seminars?
I was still say it now, and I always did say like you need to train under as many different coaches as possible. Even like Titanic alone is great because you've got like Hot Rocky and Horse and JDP and myself and Krangle and whoever, but everybody has a different perspective and you'll get something and it could be the smallest thing.
Yeah.
But you know yourself now, it's the smallest thing that makes the biggest difference.
I struggled for a long time with European uppercuts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I had Rocky, I had Pringle, I had JDP, I had Horse, who hits amazing European uppercuts. But it was only when I attended the Jack Selsom seminar,
man, Jack's the man.
and he explained it to me, as you said earlier, something just clicked.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to say I'm smashing at hitting them now, but
nah,
they are.
I seen them the other week.
They are a whole lot better than what they were.
They were great. Jack's the man, actually.
Yeah.
Such a good coach, but also a fantastic worker.
I seen him on at Wembley for AEW.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he took a big stair bump.
Oh yeah.
And I sent him a message through Twitter. I was like, "You hit those stairs like they owed you money." And he literally came back about 14 minutes later. It was like, the debt had to be paid. And I just thought, like, wow, that's amazing. You know, anybody else wouldn't have replied to you.
Jack's class.
Yeah.
Top class.
So, what's the best bit of advice that you give to someone who's thinking of becoming a pro wrestler or wants to become a pro wrestler?
Thinking, stinking. That's what I'll say. Just get it done. Go and do it. Don't. If you sit and procrastinate, as they say, you're gonna talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be like, people are gonna, I'm too old, or I'm too this, or I'm too that, or my big toe sore, or my wee finger sore. Like, you know, you can hit that bus tomorrow, and you'll regret it. So just go and do it. And if you don't like it, then go home. Like, it's fine. At least you tried.
Franco can attest that you are never too old to learn new things.
That's it.
And about having sore toes, Franco had an ingrown toenail removed not that long ago and wrestled on the same day, which got him into a lot of trouble with work, but that's a different story. So, what's the best bit of advice that you've been given in regards to your training, and who gave it to
you? Like wrestling training, you mean?
Yep.
I think I'll probably say Big Damo again. He's kind of always said, more in-ring training you're doing, the better you're going to feel. And I'm quite lucky now that I get to wrestle usually 3 days a week at least. And you always find last weekend and the weekend before I was wrestling, say Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday's good, Saturday's better, Sunday's unreal because you're just so in the zone with it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And you probably find that on those double header weekends where Saturday's probably great, and then Sunday you're like, oh my god, I'm so relaxed because and then the Butland runs too, you're amazing for it because you're doing maybe 30 days in a row wrestling. So like you're pretty sore.
Yeah.
But your movement's so good. You know what I mean? Or your timing is so good.
So you said you wrestle on average about 3 times a week.
Yeah.
How many matches do you reckon you would have in a year then? Close to 1,000?
So last year, or no, 2 years ago. See, it all ties into one for me, man. But one of the busiest years I've done, I did the Mega Slam run. I still did all the European bookings. I kind of made a pretty good deal with Brad for it, and he let me sort of see out the Germany, France ones. And it was wild because we were doing 2 shows a day, 2 matches on each show. But towards the end of the run, like 3 or 4 of the guys were hurt. So we were actually at a point of running, it was like me, Miwa, Big Dave, and Callum was ref, and then we had Steve as well. So there was a 5-man team, with 4 of them was workers. So we had to make a show out of this. You know?
Yeah.
And the last 2 weeks of it, I was doing opener. Then the opener would end with me getting jumped. So I'd take the other guy on. And it would end with some kind of like shenanigans. And then it would be a 2-on-1. And then I would literally pack the ring up, put the ring in the van, drive about 3 hours down the road and do the same thing again. So I was having 6 matches a day.
In the back of the van?
Yeah, so well, not saying too much about that, but yeah.
So I'm guessing there's not too many promotions in the UK and Ireland that you haven't worked for yet. But is there any UK local promotions that you would like to work for that you haven't worked for?
Honestly, not really. I don't think. I've been really lucky, and I don't mean it as a knock on the UK, but I just love wrestling in France and in Germany because they're mental.
Yeah.
Like the crowds are insane, and you've seen it on TV.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the stuff that you put online as
Oh
well.
my goodness, like CICC and Banger Zone and even the production and stuff, they're just so far ahead of the curve at the minute. It's crazy, and anybody who goes there is blown away. Last
Yeah.
weekend, Alan Angels was on, the AW guy, and he could not get over the production of Banger Zone. And then he was talking about CCC and places like that. And it is honestly like a miniature house show. I think they had, not that show now, a couple of shows ago, they had like 1,500 people in. And it was just wild.
Now, we talked about local promotions, but you were one of the stars of NXT UK. You wrestled in front of 7,000 people in the Odyssey.
Yeah.
You also wrestled in the 3 Arena in Dublin.
Yep.
How did you get the NXT UK?
So that was a mad one as well. I feel like this podcast should just be titled Big Demo. But me and Demo met randomly in Ballycastle. And I always, like, if somebody new comes in, I always try to go out of my way and make sure they're comfortable and whatever else. And I think he really appreciated it. And obviously, Demo looks like an absolute maniac.
Yep.
He's the sweetest man on
Yep.
earth. And we got talking, we were having a bit of crack. And then I can't even remember how this came about. I think we had the match and it went really well. He was like, "Man, you're great. Like, can't believe I hadn't heard of you." And I was like, "Oh." He was like, "What's your Twitter?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't have it." And he was like, "What?" And I think it was a big deal back then. And I was like, "No, man, I don't really like social media." And I still hate it, to be honest. I'm still terrible with it. I still have an iPhone 6, but that's besides the point. So he made me get Twitter, basically. And then I think a few months later, I ended up wrestling him again in Belfast, maybe. And then he was going to NXT America. And we did I think it was a Wrestling IE show. Could be wrong. And the last show we all went out, and this is actually a good story. So we all ended up going to El Divino. I don't even think that's still a thing.
Yeah.
You know where the river is?
Yes.
And we go up to El Divino, and Demo has like a pair of Nikes on, a pair of jeans, and whatever else. And the guy's like, "Oh man, I can't let you in unless you're wearing like, boots or shoes or." And he goes, "What if I put these on?" So his wrestling boots. And then they were like, I just want to laugh and think, right, we'll just head back. And the guy's like, "Oh, yeah, right, okay." So he puts his wrestling boots on and they let him in. So he's in the El Divino, and obviously the bottom of your wrestling boots on the dance floor.
Yes.
He's doing all these like Michael Jackson. He's the man. Like, we get absolutely tanked. Like, that's probably one of the most drunk occasions of my entire existence, and I think he'd probably tell you the same thing. Absolutely rode off. We end up coming back here, and next day I think I was leaving him to. I think I left him to Europa because he was maybe going. I think he might have been flying out of Dublin or something. I can't really remember. Or maybe he was going home first, but I think a week or so after that he was going to the States. So I was like, "Mate, look, been great. It became one of my really good friends then at that point, and was so happy for him and just said, "You're the man and you really deserve it," because he was so nice to everybody.
Yeah.
And you've probably experienced that
Yep.
yourself. And he never moans, never complains about people, never bitches about anybody. Like, he's just so positive, and it's like he's one of those guys you love to have around, and he's unbelievably good at coaching. Like, the way he looks at wrestling or thinks about it, like, God, I wouldn't ever have thought about that, But a couple of a few months later, I got this email and I showed it to my brother. It was like a WWE tryout one. I was like, "Do you think that would be real?" And he goes, "It does look really good, I was like, "But why or how would that even be a thing?" And then my brother was like, "Well, do you know anybody in WWE?" I was like, "Oh, well, kind of like one of my mates is going to NXT here, and he's actually already there. He just hasn't done
Yep.
telly yet. So I messaged him and I says, "What do you think about this? Do you think it could be legit?" And he messaged me back and he was like, "You're damn right, it's legit." Because I think what had happened was one of the matches he had sent was me and him,
Right.
and then they had asked something about me, and he'd sent my details on what he'd send to me, and he says, "So just make sure you're ready."
You're there.
And maybe a wee extra word in there, but
Yeah.
so I was like, "Whoa."
Brilliant.
Miller Moo, the milk to drink when feeling blue. Miller Moo, four flavors, which one's for you? Strawberry, banana, chocolate, cookies and cream. Miller Moo, we love you.
Absolutely brilliant. So, who was your favourite person to work with at NXT UK?
Favorite person to work with in NXT UK? I loved working with Wild Boar. We did quite a lot of dark matches together as a tag, and they were really, really fun. And some of them I was like, oh, I wish these had made TV because they were some of probably the best matches I had. A decent match with Jordan was quite fun, or JD McDonough as he's now known. I'm trying to think who else. Tyler was probably the best match. What still to this day one of my favorite matches I've ever had. That whole experience was crazy. So the original tournament to me, because it was live in the UK,
Yeah.
and I just remember coming back after that, and Regal and Finlay being like, "You nailed that." Because before I went out, Finlay was like, "You're from Belfast, don't fuck this up." Sorry for swearing.
Good man.
And I was like, "Oh my lord," I was already nervous.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time, I think Tyler was 19 just. So I was like, "Oh my god, like this is insane." Like we're sitting backstage, there's Regal, there's Finlay, they're all on this sort of table, and then they're watching the monitor and they're watching the show. And I'm kind of turning Tyler, going, UK, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's just wrestling."
Yeah.
What? You're 19? Why are you not panicking? But the original thing, and I always tell this story, is when they put the bracket up, it had me and Tyler at the top. And obviously TV is TV. With wrestling, you never know what's going to happen. So they were like running down the card and saying the matches for the first night. And they say the first match. And I'm like, why am I not the first match? They say the second match. And I'm like, oh my god. So I'm 3 matches deep on the card. I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to say to my mum. Because she's sitting at home waiting for this to come on live. My brothers went round to her house. My dad's there. I'm like, oh, this is going to be awful. I don't even know what I'm going to say there. And then they're like, a main event, Tyler Tucker. And I'm like, oh, dear. So the whole room kind of looks at me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And we'd never touched or wrestled at this point.
Yeah.
And I'd seen like quite a lot of the stuff, so I thought, well, it should be good. And lo and behold, it did go very, very well. And the crowd were amazing. The atmosphere was amazing. And then obviously the feedback was just class. And we came back. Triple H was there. And he gave us this big speech of, I just had a text from Vince. And he said it's the best thing he's seen in years because it wasn't overproduced. And Michael Cole was there. Nigel McGuinness was there. And Michael Cole said to me, he goes, man, I was like a fan watching you and Tyler. Like, and if you listen to their reaction to the super kick from Nigel McGuinness and Cole and stuff, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. And it's mad. And even like the sound bites of that, it's like, that's crazy. Because obviously you grew up watching Michael Cole.
Yeah.
He sits down with me before and he's like, is there anything you want me to talk about on commentary? And first thing he asked me was, how's your mom and dad dead? And I was like, no, they're alive. And he goes, oh, okay. So, yeah, it's pretty funny.
Now, we've talked in the past about you being on the bus with the likes of Bray Wyatt and that.
Yeah.
But who would you say was the biggest wrestling star that you had a conversation with?
Biggest wrestling star? I did have a brief chat with Roman Reigns, I guess. In terms of star power, I think nowadays he's he's probably the
Yeah.
man, right? Really nice dude, really cool guy. Bray was amazing because Goldust as well was there at the
Yeah.
time, and God,
Followed us
he was the
on
man.
social media. I think he's like
Just such a
60
nice.
years of age and
Yeah.
still.
So I remember like just being stressed, and obviously it was showing.
Yeah.
And Bray came up to me as a UK kid, and I was like, yeah, just nervous. And he goes, oh, don't be nervous. He goes, they're probably going to change it 6 times before you go out there. Don't worry about it. He goes, I never know what I'm doing until I walk out there. I was like, oh, thanks. And he was like, where are you from? What do you do? Like, how long have you been wrestling for? If you need anything at all, man, give me a shout. You know, did you get anything from catering? Do you want any food? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But he was like the heart and soul of the locker room, telling stories and cracking up the boys. And it was about 3 or 4 months later we did 205 Live, I think. And we were just backstage in suits. I was coming past him in the corridor, and I was like, oh, how you doing? He goes, oh, talk Harry, man. Just big hug lifted me up. And I was like, what on earth? Like, it's class. So, but anybody who's kind of interacted with him would tell you the same thing. He's just the absolute man, like, or
Was the man.
was the man, unfortunately.
So, at the moment, what has been your favourite match to date? And we're not counting the when you shared the ring with Franco in the Field Battle Royal.
Oh, yeah, well, big moment that. That was a big one. Favorite match to date? The Tyler one would definitely be up there for sure, and then the Odyssey the third time with Joseph Connors, because me and Joseph Connors were pretty close. That whole day was mad, and then I was able to get my mum and stuff, comp tickets. Shannon was actually Nyla was front row for that, and that was pretty cool. And it was class just to be able to go see all those years of jumping on Granny's sofa.
Yeah.
All paid off, you know. And I think it was just cool for her to see that. And she used to buy me the tickets for Christmas for those shows every year. And it was, I'll send the picture over to you, I'll find it. But the ticket was like 11 years to the date, the exact same date that I wrestled on it and was at it, which was mad.
You hardly get a ticket for Christmas this year, would you?
Well, I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
Crazy prices.
It's getting a bit silly.
Is there anyone in Titanic that you think that you haven't wrestled with that you would go, I could get a really good match out of that guy or girl?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so many. Every time I go to training, I'm like, these guys just get better every week. I'd love to wrestle Kieran and Big Row, singles or 2-on-1 or tag or whatever. I'm trying to think who else I would love to. I've wrestled Redmond in the past, but I feel like he's came on so much that it would be cool to kind of revisit that.
I actually talked to him the last Saturday show we had in Billy Martin in the shared space. I can't remember the name of it, but he done something the night before at the Ravy Davy tryouts, and I said, that wee move you done it just popped. It was a wrist lock, but he got it sort of halfway through and stopped. It was like the wrist wouldn't go, and then he rinsed it again, and I was like, it just blew my mind. I was like, I'm stealing that. He was like, oh, you can have it. This is I'm taking it. Definitely taking it.
Yeah.
But just it really, really popped me. I tag team wrestling. I prefer being a tag team wrestler, but there's one guy in Titanic that I think that I could have a good match with, and he's not that long in through the door. But if management would say to me, "I want you to wrestle singles, who would you pick?" I know who I would be picking.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm not going to name his name because his head's big enough. So. Now, I'm not going to say you have any pull in Titanic, but I'm guessing that if you went to Titanic management and said, I could get such and such, but he's going to be a wee bit expensive, who would you pick to come and wrestle with you?
Jeepers, that's a big question on. It's a funny one again. I've ended up getting really close with Paul London over the years, ever since we wrestled. We talk quite a lot and stuff, and I would see each other in Germany from time to time. Would love to wrestle him again, and I still think he's as good now as he ever was, which is ridiculous. Like the
Yeah.
way he still moves and the way like he functions and how big of a personality the guy is. He's just amazing to have around too. I loved wrestling Trent last or 2 or 3 weeks ago in France. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Definitely would like to revisit that at some stage. Just trying to think of like a big. How realistic do I have to be with it? That's the question.
It's entirely up to you.
Yeah. If it was Fantasyland, AJ Styles would be on
Yeah.
top of my list. I think. Just think he's amazing and crazy career, and he's still moving like he's 26. You know, it's mental.
He's talking about retiring as well.
I know it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember when Jacko was young, we came across TNA that used to be on Spike TV,
Yeah.
and that's when we first came into contact with AJ Styles, and he was for all the stars that TNA had, AJ was the one
He was the man.
that stood out. So whenever it comes to show days, do you have any rituals or any superstitions that you like to do or follow?
Some bad habits I have are chew gum when I wrestle. My mum would hate that, but can't do it without it now, and I do not recommend starting it because can't get out of the habit of it. I like to plaster myself in hot stuff before I go out there. A really weird one, and you'll probably see me doing this now that I've told you. I probably shouldn't even say this out loud, but it's a really weird thing sometimes if I need fired up on a show day where I'll like grab a bit of hair on the back of my head and pull it like a switch as if I'm turning on Tucker mode. And then that usually helps me kind of get into the frame of mind.
So Franco started his life out in the ring as a referee, and I've said many times on the show before, and I've said to yourself as well, I refed your match Titanic against LJ Cleary.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned so much from that. And there was so many. I was really, really nervous, but even you two just put me at ease. And the way you wrestled cool. And the way you spoke to each other in the ring just sort of blew my mind. And it made a lot of things make sense to me, as you were saying about the light bulb moment. But have you ever had the referee?
I think I maybe refed a handful of matches on one of the camp runs. I think it was wasn't Butlins, it was the other one. The All-Star one, I think maybe just one or two of the days I did, like just helped out refing, but I still wrestled.
Yeah.
In a mask later on. But it's one thing I wish I had done.
Yeah.
Like it never actually was something when I was coming up that they were letting guys do. That was something I would have jumped at. You know what I mean? And like you say, your positioning's probably better for it. You're understanding the timing and where the crowd is and yada yada yada. I know where the ref is probably because you've been the ref.
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, a good ref is so underappreciated, but it is so important.
I refed a match. I think it was the Black Box. I actually refed that whole show that day. And I remember halfway through one of the shows really needing to go to the toilet. And the match was over, and I was out of the ring before the two wrestlers, straight out the back. And the next match on was Robbie Starr and Stephen Carvell. And they were like, "Can we talk to you?" I was like, "You don't have to wait. I need to use the toilet."
Oh,
and I come out, and they run me through something. And it was Carvell was to hit Robbie a low blow. Billy Bedlam was to get in the middle so that I didn't see it.
Oh no!
I remember Billy Bedlam. I just pushed. He actually pulled me out of the ring, and I sort of managed to get him back and take yourself off. And I was like, "Oh, you can turn around now." And when I turned around, I seen Carvell hitting Robbie a big low blow. And I was like, "No!" And I just sort of pretended I didn't see it. And I said to him afterwards, says, "I'm sorry, but I seen that low blow straight away." And Carvell said, "Oh no, I hit him twice."
Yeah, that's
He's a hit on one for good measure. So, what do you like to do outside of wrestling?
It consumes me a bit sometimes, but probably I do love training, just like basic gym training. Do love to eat unhealthy food. I just don't get to do it as often as I would like. We did go to Bolt the other day, and that was very, very good. I had a gyro with steak in it. That was 10 out of 10.
Lovely.
And a Christmas chip.
Oh,
I was doomed after it, but it was worth it.
yeah. Mrs. Franco actually sent me a picture the other day. Look at this, the Christmas chips. I'm trying to be good here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Tuesday night she says to me, I was going to make us something nice for dinner, but just want a Chinese. I was like, right, okay, well, and then that was Monday night, and then Tuesday she ordered the two boys pizza, and she was like, oh, it was buy one, get one free, so I got you a pizza too, and I'm sort of eating it and going like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, that's it.
So, we've talked about Franco being injured. Have you had any sort of bad injuries other than your ACL? You mentioned your ACL.
So the ACL one was definitely the worst one, just because they had to break my leg and then take my knee out and put it back in, basically. And there's screws and all sorts in there. It was like a 10-month. It was supposed to be 18-month recovery, but thankfully it ended up being 10.
Yeah.
I always think the quote you bigger to keep my cells right. To be honest, it's not that I'm John Cena, unfortunately. But and the other one was broke my neck in Dubai. That was horrible. More so because it was at a show. It was the finish to the match. It was my fault. Like, I wanted to do a Mexican Destroyer and thought, oh, if I took it like this, it would look insane. And it did.
Yeah.
But it also hurt a lot. And I remember my fingers were numb right through my arm. And then my whole left leg was numb. And the ref was like, was that crack your head? And I was like, yeah, I think so.
Who were you wrestling for in Dubai?
DXB. Really, really good company.
Yeah.
And probably one of the best experience in wrestling I've ever had. Like, the best hotel I've ever been in. There was this pool on the roof. There was 3D printed buildings. It was mental. And the food was 10 out of 10. But I didn't say it to anybody. I just thought I've just concussed myself. Because it just felt like there was a dent in my head.
Yeah.
And they still wanted to see Dubai, so we went out to Dubai the next day. And it was when we was flying home. It was actually the flight from Dubai to London was rough. But London to Belfast was horrendous. Mila rang me. I was like, I'm outside, what are you doing? I was like, whoa. I was running up in the toilet here. You okay? Yeah, yeah. And then I said, oh, I think I'm concussed. But I'm okay, you know. And she was going to Poland for a show, so I dropped her to internationals like 5 days later. When I was walking, like my legs were going and my back was trembling. She was like, you need to go and get checked. I was like, I'm just getting soft, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And then she was like, but you haven't even tried to go to the gym. That's how I know you're sick. And I was like, yeah, something's definitely not right here. So I dropped her to the international, and then I went to the Royal. Went in, tried to explain the fan. I said, look, I have a video of it. And he was like, oh my God. Let me, as he disappeared, come back. He goes, we're going to take you for x-ray, but you're probably going to need an MRI. So he took me for an x-ray, and he said, look, the x-ray looks okay, but it's very dark at the bottom. Could be anything, it could be X, Y, and Z, but we want to do the MRI to be safe. And I was like, alright, okay. And I was supposed to be making my Mega Slam debut, I think, that Saturday coming.
Yeah. So
he came back out then, put like a neck brace on me. He goes, it's just precaution until we get the MRI done. And I was like, Jesus, this is a bit full on. And then they took me through the MRI. Right from the MRI, and I was sitting waiting, and I was like, this is just a waste of a day. Like, for them to go, you're being soft, and you're going to be absolutely fine. So the guy comes out, and he was really pally with me all day. Like, really nice guy, and nice doctor. And he said, you know, this isn't really too good. And I was like, well, what's the damage, doc? You know, and he was like, you broke your neck. I'm like, what? And I'm walking, and he goes, yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah.
He's like, your C5 is fractured, and your C6 was like so close to being fractured that you would never of being able to walk. And I was like, holy shit. So it was like a bit of a, whoa,
Yeah.
reality check kind of. And I think I was trying to, like, I think it's a man thing sometimes where you're just trying to make a joke of every situation that you're in.
Yep.
I says, oh, well, you think I'll be able to wrestle on Saturday? And he just went from, like, my mate he was going to murder me. He goes, are you an idiot?
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. And he was like, listen, like, if you do one thing wrong, you're finished. Because we're going to have to wait and see what way this heals, and you might need to get surgery. And I was like, jeez. So then he goes, who's driving you? And I was like, me. I drove over home with a neck brace on. And I'll never forget, I was like, oh my god, like, how am I going to tell my mum this? Like, and
That's always the worry. How you going to tell mum?
I just turned up to your house with a neck brace on, and she was like, oh my god. Like, oh yeah, not great, And it was crazy, like, so mad. But it was bad, but honestly, the knee was worse because it was longer.
Yeah.
So I had 12 weeks to wait, and then I was so lucky that it healed perfectly.
Yeah.
So I was only out for like 14 weeks or something, whereas the knee was just so long, and the rehab was horrendous.
So here's a question that I didn't write down to ask you. When you go away in wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
do you have to have a specific type of insurance? Or do you have insurance? Or what I'm trying to get at is, had you went to a hospital in Dubai, how much do you reckon that would cost you?
So I do now
Yeah.
have, but then no, probably a lot more than.
Is it a special type of insurance that you have to get? Or
Yeah, it's like a sport, like
Sport.
specific one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So now is Franco's favorite part of the show. It's
Hey.
Franco's heat sheet, and it's basically anything to make you look bad and make me look good. I always think of as a bonus. So first and foremost, have you ever stolen or borrowed money from your mum's purse?
No.
Uh, did you make your bed this morning?
Always, every time.
Did you ever drink alcohol before you were legally allowed to do so?
Most likely, yes. Yes.
Who's the better cook, your mum or your partner?
My mum, but my partner would agree. So.
Where's your favorite place to shop?
Oof. That's Amazon, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a bit of everything.
What was the last thing you bought online?
Last thing I bought online. Oh, maybe Temu actually.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of random gym crap.
Do you prefer cash or card?
Cash is king, by.
Yeah. Who's the most annoying person in Titanic Wrestling?
It has to be Blake Richards, doesn't it?
Oh.
Has to be.
Who do you text the most?
Yeah, probably Shannon.
Who's your best friend in wrestling?
I'll say Shannon because I don't want to be on that heat sheet twice.
Name a wrestling move that you can't do.
Ooh, the Leon Slater thing is ridiculous. The Swanton 450.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I never will. Never even attempt.
What's your favorite cheat meal?
Steak and chicken pakora on chips with house sauce from the kebab shop in Finicky. Unbelievable.
At Nando's?
No. It's Finicky Crossroads there, where it's called. It used to be called Aussies, but it's called something else now.
Yes, I know what one you're talking about.
The goat.
Mum or dad?
I do love them both. I would probably be a mama's boy a little bit.
Favorite superhero?
Oof, Tony Stark.
Favorite movie?
Couple of different ones. Blade would be up there.
The original one with
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
Classic.
I'm thinking of it was Blade series with a different guy in it, wasn't it?
I didn't see the series. Wedding Crashers, I think, is underrated.
Yeah.
Great movie. Talladega Nights is definitely up there. J. Cox, Walk Hard.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm sure there's a couple of other ones, like, but
Dream car.
Weirdly, I don't really like cars, but the car I have now I just really liked it for some reason, and that was one of the things I bought when I signed the NXT UK deal. Still have it now, and it's a nightmare, to be honest. It's like a Hyundai Coupe something.
Who would you most like to have a beer with?
If we're going wrestling, it has to be Steve Austin.
Favorite subject at school?
I guess PE was always good crack.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good at football though, but it was always fun.
What never fails to make you laugh?
Going back on the previous question, I don't even want to do this because sometimes I lose it for about 10 minutes. So we were playing football once, and I don't want to curse on the podcast, but I'm pretty bad. So I get past the ball in PE, and I'm running the pitch, and I'm like, oh my word, what's happening? I'm amazing. But it turns out I'm going the wrong way. I smash it into the net, and the keeper's just staring at me like, what are you doing? I'm celebrating, and then people were like, you're an idiot. I was like, what? Like, you scored no goal. Unreal.
Oh.
Career highlight, that one.
What's your go-to lazy dinner?
Lazy dinner, probably. I eat a lot of mince. It's pretty handy to make, and burgers in the air fryer, I guess.
That's the end of the hate sheet. And just have a couple of more questions. I'm going to say Miley Grace is probably the most successful person that you've trained to date or had a hand in training.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, she's been to Japan, NXT UK, and she's now killing it in TNA. What do you think others need to do to get to that level?
So one thing that she does very well is thinks outside of the box when it comes to like her gear. And I think somebody said this to her, but she always says it if she's ever doing any kind of coaching or giving advice. The gear that you have on, if you got called to do Monday Night Raw right now, would it be worthy of being on TV? And I'm like, wow, that's such a great way to think about it. And the percentage of answer to that would probably be no from a lot of people. So her gear always stands out. You've seen her entrance at the stadium.
Yeah.
The snakes and all this stuff. So she thinks about, and I'm not going to take credit for anything, but I always say to people, moments. And the one I always use is Mania 25. Shawn Michaels Taker. Taker gives him the tombstone, he sticks the tongue out, he does the pin, and his reaction to Michaels kicking out.
Yeah.
It's like, there was loads of class stuff in that match, but that was like insane. And that was, I don't want to know how many years ago that was, but I still remember it.
So, Titanic has just come off the back of 2 fantastic sellout shows in October. We now have a new All-Ulster champion and a new heavyweight champion. Where are we going? Where's Tucker going to go next? Are you going to be chasing any of those champions or titles?
All the belts, baby. I mean, there's quite a few over there. Why not add to the collection? I mean, the old stipulation is lifted for me now. So, as long as Horse was champion, I couldn't go for the title.
Yep.
And he's no longer the champion. So, it's back on the table, sir.
And just finally, what's happening in the very near future for Tucker? Where are you going next to wrestle?
Next week this weekend is Dundalk for a Mega Slam return, and then NLW on Sunday. And I think Budapest for 2 shows, November to Remember, the following weekend. So that's always fun.
Well, Tucker, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time today. I always tell Jacko when I grow up I want to be just like Tucker, and he just gives me that's a great dad joke, brilliant. But again, I know I've been chasing you for a while to do this, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I have had an absolute ball talking to you. I have again, I learn so much from you all the time, and I'm sure you can attest that I always text you at 8 o'clock in the morning and the evening. And,
I appreciate it, mate. You're a good
but
sport.
I really enjoyed today. Thank you so much for coming on. And folks, if you are listening, please just like, follow, and subscribe, and stay tuned for Monday. We will drop our next guest for talking with Franco. But until then, please take care and look after each other, and I will see you all soon.
Step by step through the wrestling tale, Franco's got the stories that never go stale. With the champs, the underdogs, the dreamers too. He's walking and talking just for you. Walking with Franco, stories unfold. Wrestling hearts in a ring of gold. Walking with Franco, legends alive. Every step's a suplex in time. From the streets of Rome to the locker room door, every walk's a match you can't ignore. Grapples and glory, the highs and the scars. Franco's footsteps are chasing the stars. Walking with Franco, stories unfold. Wrestling hearts in a ring of gold. Walking with Franco, legends alive. Every step's a suplex in time. From the streets of Rome to the locker room door, every walk's a match you can't ignore. Grapples and glory, the highs and the scars. Franco's footsteps are chasing the stars. Walking with Franco, stories unfold. Wrestling hearts in a ring of gold. Oh, gold. Walking with Franco, legends alive. Every step's a suplex in time. From the streets of Rome to the locker room door, wrestling hearts in a ring of gold. Walking with Franco, legends align. Every step's a suplex in time. From the streets of Rome to the locker room door, every walk's a match you can't ignore. Grapples and glory, the highs and the scars. Franco's footsteps are chasing the stars. From the streets of Rome to the locker room door, every walk's a match you can't ignore. Grapples and glory, the highs and the stars. Franco's footsteps are chasing the stars. From the streets of Rome to the locker room door, every walk's a match you can't ignore. Grapples and glory, the highs and the scars. Franco's footsteps are chasing the stars. He's got the moves and the pasta charm, a gladiator's heart with a wrestler's arm. Through the ropes of life, the stories climb. Franco's walking and it's prime time. Walking with Franco, stories unfold. Wrestling hearts in a ring of gold. Walking with Franco, legends alive. Every step's a suplex in time.